I'll come on so they can see me, and then I'll share it.
Ah, perfect. I'll share mine right now. Hi, everyone. If you're just joining us, we'll be starting in a couple of minutes, so just hang tight, and then we'll get the webinar going with Dr. Kohut. Thank you all for being here. Okay, hi everyone. I think we'll get started. It looks like people are coming on and logging on as we speak. Got a bunch of people already here and quite a few more expected. So thank you all for joining us. AERC is excited to be hosting part 2 of our summer series, which are a series of webinars exclusively for AERC members. My name is Kira DiMartini. I work at the AERC office, and I will be hosting tonight's webinar. We are so happy to have Dr. Nick Kohut as our guest speaker this evening, speaking on what a control judge expects when presenting your equine for best condition. Before I introduce him and get started, I just wanted to go over a couple of housekeeping items. Number one, this is only our second webinar, so please be patient with us. If there are any technical difficulties, just send me an email, membership@aerc.org, and we will get them rectified for next time. Secondly, we are recording this webinar, so if you have any issues listening in, don't worry, we will send you a link to the recording. Thirdly, as time permits, we will be having a Q&A at the end. At the bottom of your screen, you will see a Q&A button, and you can type your questions in there throughout the evening, and at the end, we'll try to get to those. You can also email membership@aerc.org with any questions. I'll be checking my email throughout, and we'll include those in the end. Finally, this presentation does utilize PowerPoint, so if you're using Zoom to listen in, you can see the PowerPoint. If you're just calling by phone, you'll only be able to hear, but you can view the PowerPoint in the recording when we send that out in a few days. So now on to the fun part. We are thrilled to have AERC's Vice President, Dr. Nick Kohut, as our summer series webinar presenter. Dr. Kohut represents the Northeast region as a director and has vetted rides at all levels in both endurance and competitive trail. He began his trail judging career in 1992 at competitive trail rides and in 1997 at endurance rides. He has worked over 250 endurance events made up of 660 individual rides in 18 states, 4 countries, and 4 out of our 9 AERC regions. He serves as chair of AERC's Welfare of the Horse Committee, where he has been on the committee for 12 years, and he is also a member of the AERC Veterinary Committee for the past 12 years. I'd like to give a big thank you and a warm welcome to Dr. Kohut. He will now begin his presentation.
Thank you, Kira. And thank you for all of you who are joining me. This is my very first webinar, so hopefully everything goes smoothly on my end also. So let's get started right away with the show. Okay, so yes, what a control judge expects when presenting your equine for the vet check. So the main purpose, of the vet check is, from the veterinary standpoint, is we want to get you guys through efficiently and safely. If there is no problems with your horse, the quicker we can get you guys through, the sooner then you can go back into the hold and allow your horse to rest, eat, drink, and just recover and be prepared to go back out on trail. So a lot of this is just geared towards that. Now, I have to say, especially at the end of some multi-day rides, even the nicest of us control vets can get a little testy when things don't go efficiently. And so again, these are some ideas to help along that line. But of course, W.C. Fields was famous for saying that he would never work with children or animals. They're scene stealing and completely unpredictable. And we as control vets realize the same thing with your animals. So we do try as much as possible to be understanding and hopefully helpful. Now, again, though, the very first and most important thing in the whole deal is safety. Safety for riders, safety for the horses, safety for all the volunteers. So the most important thing that you guys can do is watch what your equine, I'm using equine because we've got horses, we've got mules. So watch what they're doing. We realize, this is often a social event, but we'll see riders that'll come up with their horses and they're busy talking with their friends, talking with the people that are there, other volunteers and stuff like that, and they tend to not be paying attention as their horse is whipping around, moving back and forth, and being sometimes out of control. And you really want to be careful, and this is one of the reasons you want to watch the horse, of various obstacles. You've got the tables, you've got the timer tables, you've got chairs sitting there. We may have tents and stuff set up, that there's guidelines, ropes that are hanging on to that. Watch out for all that. Sometimes you're concentrating on your horse and stuff and not looking what's behind the horse, that if he would back up or something and may bump into that and then spook and run off. And unfortunately, we have seen that happen at vet checks already. Also, just like when you're out driving, you've got to watch what other people are doing. You've got to watch what other people's equines are doing. You may have yours in control and they may not have theirs. This is where you want to watch to see that horse you're walking up next to has a red ribbon in its tail that indicates it's a kicker. Has it got a green ribbon in its tail, which indicates that it's a new horse, a green horse, that may be apt to kick or bite. So, watch out for that. Again, pay attention to what's going on around you so that everybody is kept safe. So when you come up, one of the little pet peeve type things we have is to watch for the next open vet line. Typically at the larger rides where there's a lot of control judges there, when we get through with one, we will raise our hand, indicating that, we're ready and available for another horse to come through. Again, we want to get everybody through quickly. So, please don't make us, have to wave or whistle or yell and stuff to get you to come through. And when I say about staying close to the vetting area, ideally for myself, if it's busy and there's only, myself or one other vet and there's a lineup of horses, if I can vet one horse and just turn around and have the next horse standing right there and get you started and get you through and go back and forth to get everybody through quickly, I mean, that's just ideal. So like I said, when I'm saying close to the vetting area, it's being close to the vet, just not so close that you're interfering with the horse that we're examining. So when you come up, be prepared. And at the initial vet in, please have a reasonably clean horse. Certainly during the ride, raining, they're out, they're getting muddy and stuff like that. We certainly understand that, but certainly at the beginning, if we can be able to look at them not caked in mud or manure, and it doesn't really matter if, you've brushed his tail or anything, but like I said, it's nice for us to not have to go from one horse to the next and try and clean our hands thoroughly with soap and water if they're really dirty. All right. If you need a buddy horse, now different veterinarians, different control judges, different rides are going to have different rulings or feelings about buddy horses. But if your horse is so worked up that he's, whinnying, neighing for his buddy, spinning around, not standing still, pulse racing, please bring the buddy horse, have someone bring the buddy horse up with you. Again, makes your horse happy, makes the rest of us happy for being safety conscious. If you need someone to trot out your horse, again, we understand some of you, get tired. Some of you have various knee problems, gait problems yourself. And I can tell you, if you are very lame, oftentimes when you're trotting your horse out, you'll make your horse look lame, because as you're jigging and bouncing up and down, you're yanking on that lead shank and you're causing your horse's head to bob up and down. I mean, in the past, I have honestly told a few riders that, they could no longer trot their horse out because they just weren't able to present him well enough that we could tell whether or not he was lame. Also, when we're talking gaited horses take a little extra effort to present well. You need to have them trot or gait out at a good, steady pace. And if you are unable to maintain that pace, we can't properly evaluate your horse. And we hate to, call your horse lame just because we can't evaluate it. So again, if you need someone, please have that done ahead of time. Don't have me, take the pulse, tell you to trot, and then you go, oh, but I need someone to trot for me. Maybe I have a scribe, maybe I don't. Maybe the scribe I have can't trot. So whenever possible, have that all lined up before you present your horse. Now, if it's raining, cold, again, different control judges will have different feelings about whether or not you can trot with the blanket on. Personally, I don't have a problem with that, but I need the blanket loose enough that I can reach under to be able to do the skin pinch on the shoulder, be able to get my stethoscope underneath for the pulse. Again, be able to listen to the gut sounds on each side. If you're planning on taking the blanket off to trot, remember the leg straps. It's, again, has caused some really major ruckuses in the vet lines when you've gone to trot off and we go to pull the blanket off and it's still, the leg straps are still connected. So make sure all those are loose. And again, whenever possible, if you can have somebody that's there that can take it and hold it, especially if if we're judging and we don't have a scribe, so that we can jot down various things as you're trotting off. If you need a crop, have one with you. Not saying that you need to use it. Sometimes, again, it's just your horse recognizes that it's there, helps you maybe to keep your horse from invading your own space, personal space, keeping you safe. Lead rope. Preferably having a lead rope with a chain. Horses tend to trot better with that. You have it snapped underneath the halter. If, however, you are going to trot out with the reins, please take the bit out. Again, they don't like to trot well with the bit in. They don't present as well. And again, you know, we want to be able to do the best job we can evaluating your horse. You want us to do the best job we can evaluating your horse. And again, don't hesitate to have
Hi, Dr. Kohut. If anyone else has seen a frozen screen, just bear with us for a few minutes.
someone.
Hi, can you hear it? It was
Yeah.
frozen. Okay, I think we're back. It just froze up for a second.
Okay. All right, hopefully everything's working well. So again, don't hesitate to have the chain lead. It can get rather frustrating if we have a lot of horses that, again, are trying to step all over us, act up when they're trotting out, rearing, bucking. So it's not cruel. It's not going to hurt your horse just to give him a bit of a tap on there so he knows you're there and knows the job he's supposed to do. Also, please have your vet card out and ready. So if it's folded up and it's in the bag because of the rain, you know, please pull it out. Please either, you know, have it totally unfolded or at least folded in such a way that during the ride, it's at the hold that we're at. You probably had it out for the timer, may have put it away after that. But again, if it wasn't, you know, keep it out, be prepared to hand it to us. And people don't quite realize this, but please have your card filled out, at least with your name. This helps us in a couple of ways. I mean, one, if there is a problem and we need to call you back, people will say, okay, well, who are we looking for? And it doesn't always help, especially if all the horses have their blankets, rain sheets on to look for a number. So if we have your name, the other thing at the end of the ride, rider gets pulled or something like that, it helps us to fill out the paperwork if you have your name already on that. Now, little pet peeve on my part is when you walk up, and you'll see in the picture here, if you're able to see it on the video, I've got my stethoscope in one hand and my stopwatch, my timer piece in the other. So please don't be poking your card at me. If I have a scribe, please hand it to the scribe. If I don't have a scribe, give me a moment. I'll take your horse's pulse, and then before you trot off, then I'll take your card. Again, this is that being nice, just a little pet peeve thing on that part. Okay, so when you guys come up, now's the time to start telling me a few things. So, watch when examining the back end, the legs. You know, if you know your horse is funny about one area, please let us know. A lot of you guys are really good about telling us this. A lot of you guys are really good about telling us this at the initial vet check, sometimes during the ride gets a little hasty, and you may forget. So again, keeping safety in mind, please let us know, hey, my horse is real touchy when it's in such an area. Also, does he need to be beside or trot out with that buddy horse? Especially if he's paired up already with a horse in the ride. Sometimes, if you guys come up together to the vet check, just say, hey, we need to be vetted together. If there's multiple vets, we'll try and make arrangements so that we'll move around so that you guys can be beside each other. I've already done it. If I'm by myself, is I can take the pulse of each of you and then trot you together. Again, just keeping everybody happy and safe. Main goal. All right. Another maybe little pet peeve. I got to tell you, I think every control judge out there, when your horse takes 5 steps, we know he's gaited. So you don't have to tell us he's gaited. But what's helpful is to tell us, oh, he's gaited, but he will trot in hand. The reason that is helpful is, again, remember I said with the gaited horses, you got to maintain a good speed to keep him in his gait. Well, what tends to happen with some of these horses is if the rider, the person that's presenting the horse, can't do that, you'll see these horses that'll gait, then they'll go to a trot, then they'll try and go to a gait. And in that short distance we have, especially if somebody's a bit inexperienced looking at gaited horses, they may assume that your horse is off when in reality it's a presentation problem. Now, the other thing is too, is if your horse is tired or if your horse is off and it hurts him to stay in a gait, they'll switch from being a gait to a trot. But it's usually more than just one or 2 steps. The other thing is, let me know if there was a problem. You lost a shoe, but you want to trot out beforehand, before going to the farrier, before trying to put a shoe or a boot on. This is kind of helpful so that if you trot out, I do see your horse is off, it saves a little discussion of, okay, yep, he's off, and he's off in that leg where you lost the shoe. Go have it fixed, then come back. If your horse didn't eat or drink on that loop or while he was in the hold, again, AERC holds the welfare of the horse as the #1 priority. So in your mind, you should always be thinking that. When you're coming into the vet check, that's what we want to know. We want to keep our horses safe. If there is a problem, we want to be able to fix it early on, early intervention. So please don't hide anything. Let us know. And let us know too, if that's normal. There are some people, riders will tell me, well, he didn't drink, but he generally doesn't drink if it's a short first loop, and then he'll drink when he comes in, or he didn't eat. The other thing is, again, did he slip? Did he trip? Did you fall out on trail? Again, we want to be able to help you get through the ride. And so we want to be able to, okay, if we saw this, we know where it is, let's talk about it. And again, if something didn't go right or something didn't feel right out on trail. Now, when you come up, good horsemanship. This is something that a couple of years ago, John Crandall had a blog about the feeling that with less and less competitive trail riding, less people owning horses, less 4-H, less pony clubs, he felt that horsemanship was something that was being lost. So one of the things is when we come up, you come up and we're checking your horse. If we move to the right side of your horse, please move to the right side with us. When we move to the left side of your horse, please move to the left side. Accomplishes a couple of things. One, allows us to better communicate with you. Two, if there is a problem, horse acts up, we slip or trip, you can see that because you'll be on our side. And when you step towards us and you move your horse's head towards us, it's going to cause his body to move away from us. So again, keeping us safe from getting stepped on or hurt. The other thing is being in control of your horse. Having your hand up, short lead shank so you can control his head, not letting a long lead shank where the horse has his head down. Again, for just our safety and stuff, don't appreciate if I'm checking the pulse or whatever, and or checking the girth, and he's a little girthy, and before I know it, your horse is swinging his head over to bite me, or again, if there's a fly or something landing on him, and so again, he's just naturally going to swing his head to try and prevent that, and then I'm getting whacked. So again, that not nice pet peeve part. The other benefit from this is when we're taking the pulse, the vast majority of horses, if you allow them to eat, the sympathetic nervous system from doing that will cause the heart rate to increase. Now, that's not true with all horses. Some horses do quite well if they're eating. Some horses actually do better if they're very hungry eating. So you need to know your horse. But again, the vast majority of them, if you have their head up so that they're not eating, the pulse will be lower. And again, as I was talking about horses biting, striking, remember in the rules, Rule 3.3, an equine which constitutes a clear danger to other equines and or persons may be disqualified that's supposed to say any time, from competition by the ride manager or control judge. So if we feel that, your horse is a biter, we have that option to disqualify you. So again, try and keep your horse under control. Now, back talking about eating in the vet line. Again, you'll have some rides may have rules against this. Typically, I don't care. I really want your horse to eat as much as he can, want him to be happy. So I don't have a problem per se with the horse eating in the vet line. What I do have is if he's eating a sloppy wet mash, and then you come up and I've got to try and look at the gums, and it's just a green mess in there. So what I would ask is if you are going to allow your horse to eat a mash and stuff coming up, how about using your towel to wipe his mouth clean before I have to try and get in there? Not a problem with hay, not a problem with grass. The other thing, we are not a scratching post. Please don't allow your horse to be rubbing on us. If your horse wants to rub and wants to rub on you, not necessarily the best habit to allow your horse to do, but again, if he wants to rub on you and not on us. And again, pay attention to what we're talking about. That way, if you have a question, we say, oh, this is a B, or that, guts are quiet here or that, you're not surprised when you walk away and look at your vet card. That way, too, you can ask us questions. Now, the biggest thing with the vet gait is the trot out. So let's spend a little bit of time going over how to do a good trot out. First off, when I ask you to trot, please go right away. When we're doing a CRI, which is typical of most vet gaits anymore, your horse comes up, we take the pulse, then you're going to trot away and back. Well, 1 minute after we took the pulse, we're going to take the pulse again. That's how we're going to compare how your horse is doing with CRI. It messes a lot up if I ask you to trot and then all of a sudden, remember I talked about being prepared, all of a sudden you're like, oh no, wait, I need somebody to trot for me. Oh, no, wait, my buddy horse isn't ready to go. If you tell me those things ahead of time, then I can delay taking it so that, again, we want to use the tools we have. The CRI is one of those tools. We want to be able to employ it properly. So the other thing is having proper form when you're trotting your horse out. As you can see here, your upper body or your upper arm is parallel to your body. Your lower arm is parallel to the ground, or as close as you can do that when you trot. The reason for that is then when you trot, that lower arm just kind of shuffles back and forth and not up and down, so you're not dragging your horse's head down and up, which again looks like a head bob, and you're making your horse look lame. A nice loose lead. See how nice and long this is in this picture? Again, that gives your horse the freedom to move his head the way he should. Again, horse welfare. We don't want lame horses going out. You shouldn't want your horse, if he's lame, to not be evaluated properly. So give us the opportunity to try and evaluate your horse the best way we can. So a nice loose lead. If you are right-handed, going to trot on the right side of your horse, please hold the lead in your right hand. Vice versa, if you're going to be trotting on your horse's left side or you're left-handed, have your lead in your left hand. You don't necessarily want to have it across your body in case you trip up or fall. The other thing you'll see in this picture, the lead is not dragging on the ground. We've watched people, trot out, and they'll have that long lead dragging on the ground, and you can step on it, trip yourself. We've seen horses step on it, and again, they could spook, run off, and cause lots of problems. Ideally, have the horse trot beside you, either shoulder to shoulder or head at the shoulders. Allows us the best view to evaluate your horse. What you don't want to do is, please don't drag your horse up and down. Again, as you're pulling on that head, he's going to pull his head back. Again, can make the horse look lame. Also, a lot of the horses then won't trot. And we need to see your horse trot, not walk down. The other thing is, don't look straight away. Don't be looking back at your horse, because when you make eye contact, then he wants to stop. So typically, start trotting, trot down. And again, if you can be beside your horse, that's the best. So in some instances, you'll need to slow down if you're a fast runner. Also, please don't block your horse from our view. So again, this is what helps when you're trotting on the side of the horse. If your horse is drafting off of you, makes it very difficult for us to be able to see him and evaluate what's happening. Again, remember I said that CRI is, one of the tools we use. So please trot the entire distance, which should be 250 feet in total. So 125 feet up, 125 feet back. Please don't trot halfway, stop, turn around, have us yell at you to turn back around and keep trotting. Sometimes we go to great difficulty. We bring out, tape measures and everything to make sure we've got it the proper distance. So please utilize that for us. So here's the process again. So trot or gait down to the cone or whatever marker is set at the end. When you get there, either slow down to a walk or stop at the end. Then walk a quote-unquote large circle behind the cone if space is available. What you don't want to do is get down there and jerk your horse around, sharp angle. That's not how he would move out on trail. You're going to put pressure on the joints. You may actually take a horse that was sound and make him lame by injuring that joint on the trot. And then look up. Look for your vet. Look for which judge you were at. We see a number of you over the years where you're concentrating on looking down so you don't trip or fall, and then you don't stay in your lane. You trot from one corner to the other corner to the other vet. We're kind of yelling and try and get you back on track. The other problem is if we're busy, you may be interfering with other horses in other lanes that are trying to trot out. Sometimes we feel like we have to have traffic cops out there to keep you guys from running into one another, which again is a safety issue. Just before you get to us, slow down to a walk, come to a stop. Please don't run over us. We appreciate, being able to keep working throughout the whole ride. Now, let's see if this will work. So here's a nice trot. Down, comes to the end. Nice, easy circle around. Nice, easy trot back. And she ends with a smile. So now, what do you do if there is a problem? So if you're being pulled and there are others that are waiting to vet, so if we've got a big line, please step aside and hold your question until after the other horses get vetted through. Again, we want to be able to spend time with you, but we don't want to cause the other people to have to sit there, wait. If you've been in that position, sometimes you get a little testy or grouchy, especially if it's, you're running for the lead or something like that, and you're having to wait while someone else is taking up a lot of time. If we're worried that your horse is going to need to be treated, we're going to devote all the time we need to you and get you over the treatment vet right away. But if it's just something that we're talking about having you come back for, please, let the others get through. And then, if you're not being pulled immediately, now's the time to ask questions. So, what can I do for the problem? Is it a lameness? So this is where, okay, what leg did you see it in? What leg do you think it was in? Do you think it's is it a muscle cramp? Is it something that some massage can help, some stretching can help? Or is it something that you need to ice? Again, ask. We'll try and give you the best advice we can if this is something, again, that we're going to be bringing you back for. What time to come back for the recheck? I know a number of rides I do will have these little timer slips that we can hand back to you that'll have your out time on it. And so that'll give you a rough idea. But I know there happens many times that people will walk away, didn't ask what time to come back, and then we're looking for you. The other thing is if we do tell you a time, if there's somebody there with you, ask them to write it down for you. Because what ends up happening is you're concerned about your horse, not necessarily thinking about the time. And then what ends up happening is 15, 20 minutes maybe later, all of a sudden it's like, oh no, what time am I supposed to come back? So then you or someone else is coming back up. And if we're, again, trying to vet other horses through, you're wanting to try and ask us what time to come back. We may have to search through cards, which then slows it down and interferes with other people trying to vet through. So again, little tip there, if you can write it down, that would be beneficial. And again, please don't be late. We do try and watch for when you're supposed to come back, and we're looking for you. Depending on what it is, we can kind of get nervous. If this was a horse that, well, the gut sounds weren't that good, and you don't come back, we're worried, okay, is something more serious going on? Where are you? Do we need to find you? Again, horse welfare. Also, the other thing is, please let us know if you decide not to come back. So maybe we saw a lameness. We said, why don't you guys go and work on this? You worked on it, but you trotted your horse outside the vet gate. You saw he's still lame, so you feel there's no sense bringing him back. He's not better. You don't have to bring your horse back up at that point unless you were told, yeah, you need to come back and then go to all the poles have to go to a treatment vet. Just let us know. So again, we're not being worried about, is there something worse going on? And again, depending on the ride, ask tack on or tack off. Number of rides, if it's a lameness issue, we may ask you to come back untacked. It's often easier for us to evaluate your horse if a bunch of stuff isn't flapping and stuff on your horse, or again, maybe we were concerned that he's a bit back sore. We want to be able to recheck his back. If it was something as simple as, well, gut sounds were a little quiet, I'd like to recheck that. A lot of times we'll say, yeah, you can come back tacked up because I can easily listen to the guts with the tack on. All right, some tips. So some tips for in the vet gate. Treats are wonderful. And you'll see people, that'll trot. To get their horses to trot, they'll have a carrot or a cookie or something with them. Show it to your horse, start trotting away, get your horse to follow. The other thing that has worked really well sometimes for me in the past is some of those horses that are real mouth shy. And sometimes they're mouth shy because they're thinking with you standing there that, I'm going to give them more electrolytes, which they don't really necessarily all enjoy. And so then they're fighting me to try and look at their gums and do the capillary refill time. So I've had horses that owners have given me a treat and I showed it to the horse, or we've had the horse, be starting to eat the carrot or something. Sometimes they easily allow me to flip up the lip, look in the gums, get that done. The other thing is what I'll call the strategic use of the buddy horse. What I mean by this is okay, if your horse, you have a non-competing buddy horse, you brought two horses to the ride, or the buddy horse got pulled, and your horse doesn't want to trot away from the buddy, what you can do is I take the pulse and then have the person that brought the buddy horse up take it to the other end of the trotting area. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Your horse will trot down to the buddy horse, and then if you bring the horse back, they'll trot. Now, again, if it's really busy in the vetting area, sometimes you need to do that on the side. So sometimes if we're vetting in an arena and there's a fence there, maybe the buddy horse is on the other side of the fence. Or again, when you came up initially, say, I need my buddy horse here. Can I go to one of the vets that's on the end so that the buddy can be on the end and not taking up a lane where somebody of the competitors are trying to vet their horse and get through? Now, the biggest thing is going to be what you can do at home before coming to the ride. And again, being touched by other people. All of us control judges, will hear this type of stuff a lot, that, oh, he's great at home and all that stuff. I can do anything to him. And then when you come to the ride and all the excitement and stuff, all of a sudden you can't do anything. So what people will do is anytime you have friends come over, other riding companions and stuff, say, hey, would you pretend to go through, check my horse's gums, listen to his heart or something, so that he gets used to the idea that other people are not going to hurt him. Sometimes, horses seem to be able to smell us as veterinarians. And so, they get to realize that we're not just there to give them shots or tube them for chokes or whatever. So, again, the more they get conditioned to know that other people are going to be okay, the better. The other thing is having your horse's temperature taken. Several rides I know of require, and this is on non-FEI rides, will require your horse's temperature to be taken before the vetting. So again, for that safety fact of not having people getting kicked or your horse spinning and running into people, if you can practice so that your horse is used to having its temperature taken before you come to the ride. Trotting out in a straight line. So what a lot of people will do is every practice ride you do, when you are done riding and hop off your horse, you don't put them away until you trot your horse up and back. If possible, have that 125 feet kind of marked off, so your horse gets in its mind that, hey, I'm not done until I trot out. So they realize that that's part of the whole experience. And now I realize we're talking about vet checks and the normal stuff, but I did want to throw in also at home, teach your horse to trot out in a circle for if you're standing for BC. So again, trot them up and back in a straight line, and then trot them in a circle in each direction. Great practice, for if you find yourself in the top 10. Well, that's pretty much what I had to say on this. Kira, did anybody have any questions?
They did. Thank you so much, Dr. Kohut. That was informative, and we really appreciate all your expertise. We have a couple questions. I'll start with one from Griffin. She was wondering, does it matter which direction around the cone we turn when you're doing the trot out?
It does not. It's usually, though, easier for you if you can walk them so that you're on the inside. So usually, and you would have noticed in the video, yeah, the person went down and they walked their horse in a clockwise manner. But it's also, really, it doesn't matter which way, as long as, slow, easy, and you have control of your horse.
Okay, thank you. And then our next question is from Lisa. She's wondering, are there any tips over and above a regular vet check for best condition showing?
Again, and this is one of those deals where, having done a lot of competitive trail rides and those other judges, we can have made the same comment. We can often tell during best condition which horses have done competitive trail. And it's the circle that makes or breaks a lot of it. So because everything else is the same that we've gone through, we're going to be checking the heart rate. We're going to be checking the hydration status, so mucous membranes and all that stuff. So the same stuff we went through during the regular vetting. The only thing that's really different is that you're going to have to trot your horse in a circle. And we can tell these horses that all of a sudden this is the first time they've ever had to do one. And they just kind of look at you and go, I don't understand what you're asking of me. And, because we're not only looking at gait, but we're looking at impulsion and attitude. How well your horse carries itself, how much energy it looks to have. And when it doesn't understand that you're asking it to trot in this big circle, we're going to have to think, okay, well, is it that, or is he tired? You're going to get knocked down for it, even when that might not really be the case. Because again, we have to go by what we see. And so if we see a horse that doesn't trot well in the circle, that's what we're basing our judging on.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. We have another question from Lisa as well. And just so you guys know, you can keep sending them in right now, or I think you can raise your hand, the little icon, and I think I can call on you. So you can also do that and we can try it out. So Lisa's also wondering, she states that she noticed in the video that the woman carried a crop. Do you have any feelings about riders presenting a horse holding but not using a crop?
Yeah, as I said before, all in favor if your horse respects the crop. Yeah, I have no problem with someone holding it, using it, not using it, holding it and having it with them. And even again, if that horse is uh, pushing into you or something, and you just kind of easily give him a little tap. I mean, you're not beating him, you're not whipping him. Uh, just kind of, it's the same thing with having that lead shank over his nose, that you're giving a little yank to get his attention so he knows to pay attention. And, back on best condition, real quick, even though we were talking about the vet checks, there are people that will go out and lunge, and they will take a lunge whip just because that's how their horse has been trained. They're not using the lunge whip to hit the horse, just to give guidance. You're not to be beating your horse with your crop or beating the horse with a whip to get it to go down, to actually get it to trot down and back. We tend to, on the green horses, most all the judges I've worked with, tend to be pretty lenient with people verbally hazing their horse, taking the end of the lead shank and kind of giving them a tap on the back to get them started. We've also kind of smacked the horse on his butt just to get him started. Now, again, this is regular AERC rides. You start getting into international riding and stuff like that, you're not allowed to touch your horse at all. But we encourage people to start green horses and stuff. That's just, again, nothing in that's, and you'll see in the rule books that, is going to show that you are violently or, intentionally trying to hurt your horse.
Absolutely. Perfect. Thank you. If anyone else has any more questions, now would be the time. I think we've reached the end of them and we're about at our hour. So you can raise your hand if you do. I know one was raised before, but I think it might have been answered. So thank you so much, Dr. Kohut. We really appreciate this, and I hope everyone learned something. I definitely did. And we'll be having the recording and sending it out to all of you tomorrow or the next day.
Okay, and if anybody thinks of any questions they have later, please don't hesitate to drop me an email through the AERC website, or don't hesitate to, if you see me at a ride, to come up and ask questions. We want to try and help.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it, and we hope everyone had a great evening.
Thank you, Kira.
Thank you, Dr. Kohut. Good night, everyone.
Good night.